Welcome everyone to session 7 of 12 of Become a Millionaire. I usually start off these sessions with a poem that's relevant to the topic that I'm covering. And I've used Robert Frost, Rudyard Kipling, Edgar Guest in the past. But for this month, I'm going to give you, share with you an original poem that I wrote about 5 or 6 years ago. And I had done a presentation in Boston to a couple hundred people, and I spoke about CEO of your job. And after that presentation, I wrote a poem, and I thought it was very appropriate for this particular session since we're focused on CEO of your job. So here we go. On a balmy Boston evening on the 10th of December, we descended on Walsh Theater for a night to remember. They said he was the man who broke through the bamboo ceiling. The capacity crowd came to learn the secrets he was revealing. Do you want a big fat raise? Was his opening question. We all raised our hands and gave him our rapt attention. Open the door to greatness, turn the big brass knob, make yourself more valuable, become the CEO of your job. First, you can do almost anything when you bring focus to the mind, as long as it's within reason and your objectives are aligned. The third idea requires endurance to develop your many facets. In the end, it's all worthwhile when you gain those intellectual assets. This advice is really very good, even though it's rather plain. When your skills are so proficient, it looks like you can make rain. Find yourself a mentor, preferably one you adore. It is even better if he's done it all before. Take a look at the person to whom you directly report. Is that person someone who gives you full support? Do you truly admire that person you call boss? Are they really competent? How do they come across? If this person doesn't help you grow, if they're just going through the motions, then your career will stagnate and you won't get your promotions. You need to build your network with a persistent, steady stride. It's best when you can expand your reach to colleagues from far and wide. Get your friends together and plan your future career. It just takes a little time, but the rewards are very clear. When the talk was over, we didn't want to go. We kept asking questions. There's so much more to know. The time was finally running out, and Ian brought it to an end. Oh, what a night it was. Oh, what a night it's been. We came looking for wisdom and seeking inspiration. We left a little bit wiser and full of exhilaration. My friends and I, we all agree, this evening brought great delight. We look forward to the next one as we bid each other good night. So the agenda for today will be a quick review of last month's session 6. And then I'm going to finish a topic that I spoke about last month, which was expand wealth 15%, and I wasn't able to complete the asset allocation part of it. So we'll talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about the top 88 ETFs that we presented in session 2. And I'm revisiting that list today and giving you an update. And then we'll go into Augment Income 15%. And then we're going to talk about Buy a Home Module 2. Module 1 was the benefits of buying home. Module 2 was getting a mortgage. And that completes today's session. And I'll just review this session, and then we'll talk about the rest of the year. Okay. So let's review session 6. So session 6 was all about income taxes, and then we talked about capital gains tax. Oh, there's another chat. I thought it was my iPad. Oh, God. Okay, Lynn. We learned about capital gains tax and how to try to minimize that. And then we spent some time learning about retirement accounts, how to grow your wealth in a retirement account, and you worry less about taxes. And then we finally talked about what it takes to complete your Become a Millionaire project plan. So hopefully you did that. So for the homework, you were supposed to look at your last 3 years of taxes and look at these 4 specific lines: your income, your deductions, your taxable income, and your taxes. And you're supposed to see if there were things you could have done differently that could have reduced taxes those 3 years. So just a good exercise to do so that you could try to minimize your taxes going forward. And the homework 2 is to complete your Become a Millionaire project plan. Hopefully you've done that. And homework assignment number 3 was go back and view spam session number 1 on the YouTube site, because I think that now that you've created a Become a Millionaire project plan, session 1 will make a heck of a lot more sense because it all fits now. And then you're supposed to meet with your BAM buddy and spend half an hour, each of you, presenting the plan to each other and answering any questions they might have. So hopefully you've all done that. So let's finish the expand more 15% and talk about asset allocation. So there's 3 classes of assets that we talk about. One is equities being stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, etc. And then there's a thing called fixed income, which are bonds, annuities, things that provide you some level of interest going forward, and it just fluctuates a lot less. And then the last asset class is cash. So that would fall into like money market funds, treasury funds, certificates of deposit, et cetera. So those are the 3 classes that they talk about when they talk about asset allocation. Each class has a different level of risk and also a different level of return. And also your time horizon affects your return. So as an example, for equities, that presents the highest risk, but it also has the highest return. And if you have a longer time horizon, you're meaning 5, 10, 15 years, then equities make a lot of sense. When we talk about fixed income, that's a low risk investment, but it's also a fairly low return. So if you don't have such a long time horizon, your fixed income may make sense because it's a pretty low risk, low return asset. And then finally, with cash, there's really no risk, and there's also no return. So if you don't have much time, putting money in cash makes sense because you don't want to invest in something that goes down, and then you'll need the money, and then you'll have lost that money. So asset allocation, quite simply, is a strategy for apportioning your total assets among these 3 asset classes: equities, fixed income, and cash. So here's 3 typical asset allocation approaches. One is an aggressive approach, the second one is a moderate approach, and the third one is a very safe approach. So the aggressive approach would put 80% equities, 10% of fixed income, and then 10% cash. Moderate would reduce the equities to 60%, would raise fixed income to 30%, and also hold 10% in cash. And then finally, the most safe one would only have 30% equities, 60% fixed income, and 10% cash. So those are 3 typical asset allocation approaches, and they all have different risk-reward profile. So if you go to a financial planner or financial advisor, someone who helps you invest your money, they would advocate anywhere from 30% to 90% allocate to fixed income. They feel that that's a good tool to reduce your risk so that you don't have to worry about losing your money. It turns out that while that does reduce risk, it also significantly reduces income. So, it reduces your return. So because this is part of a Become a Millionaire course, I don't think that that's the best approach if you want to become a millionaire. That's a good approach if you're already a millionaire and you're trying to protect what you have. But if you're trying to grow your wealth, what I would do is I would put between 80 and 90% into equities and then the rest into the cash. The reason I would keep 10, 20% cash is to take advantage of market corrections. As I've shown you, there's like 15 or 16 major recessions in the stock market over the last 70 or 80 years. And it's a good time to buy some equities on the cheap, when there's a correction. So keeping cash on the side allows you to take advantage of that. Now, 80 and 90% in equities is a very aggressive asset allocation strategy, but it will get you to millionaire status in the fastest time. Unfortunately, it does present the greatest risk. So that's a risky proposition. And I'm obviously very concerned about that as well. But my strategy for reducing risk is not allocating a portion of your money to fixed income, because that reduces your return too much, in my opinion. I would reduce risk, as we've discussed, through using ETFs instead of individual stocks. Investing in different indexes and different industries, and just diversifying ETFs and also diversifying over time. So the strategies that I've taught you, for me, provide a level of safety. It's obviously not as safe as fixed income, but you at least maintain the ability to get very good return. But at the end of the day, this is really a personal decision, and you have to decide what's best for you. But that's my advice when it comes to asset allocation. So let's talk about the top 88 ETFs. So, but before I do that, let me show you a slide that I shared in session 2, which was the February session. So I shared with you what the 14 most valuable companies are. So here it is, compared between on July 5th, when I ran these top stocks again, versus what it was on January 9th. And you can see Roche is still number one. In fact, number 1 through 5 has not changed. They remain 1 through 5. But you can see that Roche has grown almost $300 billion. Apple's actually gone down about $900 billion. Microsoft went from 1.7 trillion to 2 trillion. Amazon went from 1.6 to 1.7 trillion. Google went from 1.2 to 1.7 trillion. The change is that Facebook went from 7 to 6. So they went from 790 billion to 1 trillion, and so on and so forth. So you can see that even though the order doesn't change much, these large companies continue to grow. So remember, I did the original ETF list back on January 9th. I screened for the 10-year highest return ETFs. And I just redid the exact same screen on June 8th. And given the level of volatility we've seen in the last 6 months, there are some very interesting changes to the list. So let me just orient you to this slide. Basically, just looking at line 1, which is SOX, you can see that it was number 1 on January 9th, and it's still number 1 on June 8th. So back on June 9th, the 10-year return was 22%. And on June 8th, that 10-year return has now increased from 22% to 23%. That the price was $398 then. It's $431 on June 9th. And that growth annualized is 32%. So this green indicates that this is 10% more than the 22%, the 32%. So that's good. So you can see that SOX is doing 10% better than it was doing. SMH is also doing 10% better. Now this one's interesting. This is a biotech ETF, and it's gone from 3 to 23. So if just looking at the detail, it went from 21% 10-year return to 18%. You can see the price went from 149. Instead of going up, it actually went down to 133. And that represents an annualized number of negative 20%. So it's actually negative 20 is actually 42% worse than 21%. So not so good, but that happens. PSI has now moved up to 3rd, and they're 21% better than they were. XSD is down 10%, but still has maintained a sixth position, and so on and so forth. So I will post this list, the new 88, in the BAM folder at the end of this session. So one thing to notice is that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0 doesn't go. So there's 7 greens out of these 30 ETFs. If you go to the next 30, you can see that there are actually more greens. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the other one was, I can't remember, it was like a 9 greens, and this is 14 greens. So you never know which ETFs will do better. That's why I give you the whole list, and you pick the ones that have the greatest dip and the ones that you like to purchase. But as you can see, it's not always the top ones, although SOX, SMH, and PSI did very well. On this list, you can see ITB actually grew 50%. That's actually a home builders ETF. So that's done very well. It moved from 45 up to 18. And even this one, IHF, I'm not sure what that is, but that went from 35, actually it went down, but it went up 19%. So go figure. So the bottom line is that the top 88 ETFs, they did pretty well during the past 6 months. It wasn't perfect, but it did pretty well. But what you can see is that the stock market is not static. Things are always changing. So you need to update your top ETF list every 6 months or so. So this will be good until the end of the year. I'll do it one more time in December. And then after that, you're on your own. You need to do your own screening every 6 months just to make sure that the stocks, that the ETFs that you're investing in remain the ones that have done well over a long period of time. So just by way of review, after today's session, we will have done 15% in Augment Income. We will have done up to 15% cut expense. We've done up to 15% in Expand Wealth. So for the rest of the year, which we have another 5 sessions after today, we'll just complete the Augment Income to 25%, complete cut expenses to 25%, and complete Expand Wealth to 25%. And then you will be ready to move forward on your Become a Millionaire journey. So we'll move on to the next topic, which is Augment Income 15%. So I've actually made an adjustment to the numbering scheme. Up to now, I've sort of interweaved CEO of Job and CEO of Career as part of Augment Income. I actually found that to be a little confusing. So going forward, I'm going to reorder it this way. So I'm going to make CEO of Job module 1 5%, which it was. I'm going to make today's module 2 10%. And then I have one more module after this, and that'll be 15%. And then I will layer the CEO of Career sessions on top of this and make that 20 and 25%. So this way, the CEO of Job stands alone at 15%. I think that's better. So if you just did CEO of Job, you can get to 15%. And then if you did CEO of Career on top of CEO of Job, then you can get to 25%. So I think that going forward, that's just a more straightforward way to present it. So just a summary of the change. So what was, I was going to number 5, 15, 25. I'm now numbering 5, 10, and 15. What was 10 and 20 before, I'm calling 20 and 25. So hopefully that makes sense. So this is a review slide. So we talked about being competent, which was 5%. So today we're going to talk about adding value. And that's both being excellent and then being a leader. These are 2 different rungs on the ladder climbing up the CEO of Job. And you have to complete both to get to 10%. So we'll talk about that. And then the last module 3 of CEO of Job will be about getting involved in a major improvement project and getting involved in multiple major improvement projects in your company. And if you do this, you will be in a very good position to be adding a very, very tremendous value to your company, to your manager, to your group. And that's when you can enjoy a 15% augment income consistently. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, this 10% and 15% does assume that you'll get promotion every 3 or 4 years. That's part of it. Without a promotion, you wouldn't be able to get raises that large. But if you get a 10, 15% increase as a result of promotion, that will add to your regular income to get to the 10 and 15% numbers, which are actually very high numbers, by the way. I mean, it's not easy to do. Most people don't do it. But if you follow this prescription, I believe you can get there. So this is a little bit of a review slide, but I think it's important before we get into more detail that the 2 primary strategies I teach are CEO of job and CEO of career. And they're complementary strategies. It takes a long time to make these work, but these strategies will benefit you well beyond becoming a millionaire. They'll benefit you for a lifetime. So, so we present CEO of job in session 3 and CEO of career in session 4. And I'm going to do CEO of job 2 and 3 in this session, which is session 7, and the next session, which is session 8. So I will complete CEO of job by next month. So these are some of the reusable techniques that I taught you, I think, back in session 3, I believe. And it's about first clarifying and then addressing. So what I call the CDC, which is characterize, document, confirm, and then analyze, plan, and implement. So it's the same formula, but you apply that to be excellent. So as you remember, we did this with be competent. Now we do the same thing with be excellent. So it's very similar. You characterize what be excellent means at your company, then you document it, and then you confirm it with your manager or with someone you trust. Now, after you do that, and after that's clear, then you have to analyze your performance against this be excellent document, and then you have to see where your shortcomings are, put together a plan for achieving be excellent, and then implement that plan, and then go back to step 4 and do it again. It will generally take 2 or 3 cycles to get there. But this is a sure way to becoming excellent at your job, at your company. So this does take a while. This could take 6 to 12 months to achieve. It may even take longer, but I think 6 to 12 months is a good time frame to work something like this out. So I just looked at the internet for examples of what it means to be excellent in your job, and this was just a 15 tips that this company, Integrated Talent Strategies, provided. And I think it just gives you an idea of the types of things you have to think about. Right? Learn to perform job well. That's actually just be competent. Work hard. Act professionally. Have a positive attitude, which we've talked about in this course. Take initiative. Be a good team player. Know your boss. Understand your employer. That means the company. Understand what's important to them. Take constructive criticism gracefully. That's not always easy to do, but it's important. Cultivate relationships at the company. Take opportunities to learn new skills and new jobs. Make sure you're part of the solution. Don't gossip. Volunteer for new projects. That probably ties to leading improvement project. And then mentor new employees and young workers. So that actually ties more to being a leader. But that's what this place says. It just gives you a sense of the types of things you need to think about being excellent at your job. So you have to create the definition of what it means to be excellent and to be a leader at your job. Make sure your list is complete. Make sure each element can be quantified. It's not good enough to say work hard, even though that's what the last slide said. you have to say something very specific, like putting at least 45 hours of high quality work. You have to find that at high levels of efficiency. So you have to be much more specific than some of the examples that I've shared. You make sure that if a person does everything on the list that you've created at the quantities that you specify, that this person will definitely be recognized as being excellent and being a leader, then you know your list is a good list. If that's not true, you've got to go back and work on your list. So you have to do the same thing for be a leader that you did for being excellent. And you have to do that after you finish the be excellent module. So that may take 6 to 12 months. So you may not be able to start on that till probably mid 2022. So you have to do it sequentially. You can't do it at the same time, because you have to be excellent before you can be a leader. No one's going to follow someone who is mediocre. So being competent is not enough to be a leader. Being competent means that you're doing your job. Being excellent means you're one of the top people in the group. Being a leader means that you can now have people listen to you, come to you for help, and be someone that the group looks up to. So that's very important. So that completes the Augment Income 15%, which is actually Augment Income 10% because I changed the numbering scheme. But we'll finish Augment Income 15% next month. So we'll move on to the next module, which is Buy a Home. Module 2, which is Get a Mortgage. So module 1 was, remember I said A, B, C, D, and E as an acronym to remember what the benefits were of purchasing a home. Now we talk about getting a mortgage. So here's some basic things that most of you ought to know, but mortgages are basically a loan used to buy a house or other real estate. And the reason it's a mortgage and not a loan, because mortgages have the property itself as collateral. So that's what makes it a mortgage. And there are many types of mortgages, and there are many features available in mortgages. So you can have a fixed rate or an adjustable rate. And usually the adjustable rate is like they call it like an ARM. So it could be a 5-year ARM, a 5-1, meaning that it's fixed for 5 years, and then it adjusts every year from that point on. So that's an example of an adjustable rate mortgage. The terms of the loan can vary widely. They can be 10 years, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. So there's a pretty broad range of terms that banks provide. I'm focused mostly on the 30-year because that will keep your monthly payments to the lowest possible. And if you keep your monthly rates to the lowest possible, you can buy the most expensive home. And that generally gives you more equity to grow on. So obviously everyone's situation is different, but I've always gotten 30-year mortgages, and I think that that's probably the best way to go. Interest rates can vary widely, and you can vary anywhere from 2.5% to 3.5% to 4.5%. It could be fixed, it could be variable. And then some loans have points, other loans don't. And points are basically the fee for getting the loan. So it could be 1 point, could be 2 points, 1.5 points, it could be 0 points. So that's why you have to shop. It varies quite a bit. And then some people will pay an extra point or two in order to lower the interest rate. So if they can't qualify for a certain mortgage, they can what they call buy down the interest rate. They can give an extra point or two, and that may lower the interest rate by 1/4 of a point, and thereby lowering their monthly payments, and may allow them to get the loan. Remember that your interest rates also differ depending on whether you're creditworthy or not. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And also the strength of your application, which is all the things around your job, your salary, your financials, et cetera. So all those things affect your interest rates. In terms of mortgage overview, we're going to talk about credit scores. So if you think about buying a home, in the next few years, you should consider doing that. We're going to talk about the different types of mortgages available, then we're going to talk about different types of lenders. We're going to talk about what a mortgage broker is, and then we're going to talk about the debt to income ratio, which is one of the ways that lenders decide whether to approve you for the loan or not. So here's a video that I found that I think does a good job explaining credit scores. So take a look.
Shopping for a car? Applying for a job? Looking for a home? Or just getting your financial house in order? Then it's time to check your credit report. Good news, it's free. The law entitles you to one free copy of your credit report from each of the 3 nationwide credit reporting companies every 12 months. Why is it important to check your credit report? It has important information about your financial accounts, how you pay your bills, and if you file for bankruptcy. You want to make sure everything is accurate, especially before you buy a house or a car, or apply for a job. If you notice something wrong, contact the credit reporting company and business providing the information to correct the error. And checking your report can help you guard against identity theft. Visit ftc.gov/ID theft if you spot accounts that aren't yours. How do you order your free credit report? Order online from annualcreditreport.com. the only authorized website for free credit reports, or call 1-877-322-8228. You'll need to provide your name, address, social security number, and date of birth to verify your identity. Keep in mind, you're entitled to one free copy of your credit report every 12 months from each of the 3 nationwide credit reporting companies. So the next time someone asks, "How's your credit?" you'll have the answer. To order your free credit report, visit annualcreditreport.com or call 1-877-322-8228.
That's great information. So your credit score is a number between 300 and 850, and it really depicts your credit worthiness. So the higher your score, the better the borrower looks to potential lenders. So your credit score is based on your credit history. So it's things like the number of open accounts, the total levels of debt that you have, how good is your repayment history, and other factors that we'll talk about in the next slide. And the credit score is developed by Fair Isaac Corporation, and it's known as FICO. So it's a FICO score. So here are the ranges. So if you're between 800 and 850, that's the top of the line, and you would have that's an excellent credit score. If you're between 740 and 799, that's also very good. So you shouldn't have too much to worry about. If you're over 640 and less than 739, you're still okay, not a problem. But if you're below 670, you really should think about figuring out what's wrong in your credit report and try to repair it. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. But your credit score affects your lender's willingness to lend to you. So it's important that it's at least 670. And a lower credit score will cause your interest rate to go up, which is bad. And then those are the 3 primary credit bureaus, the TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So if you look at this picture over here, 35% of your credit score is determined by your payment history, whether you pay things on time or not. So try never to be late. The amount you currently owe is actually 30% of your credit score. 15% is the length of credit history. So if you've only been borrowing money for a couple of years, you would not get a good score in this. But if you've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, then this 15% you'll do very well. The types of credit in use, is it a credit card, is it a mortgage, what types of credit you use, that's 10%. And have you gotten new credit lately, that could affect you by 10%. So those are the different ways that contribute to your credit score. How do you improve your credit score? Just make sure you pay your bills on time. Increase your credit line if possible. So if you have credit card for $10,000. Try to increase it to $12,000. Don't close credit card accounts. I've learned that will negatively impact your credit score. One, by reducing the amount of money you have available, but they also don't like you closing credit cards. And then finally, if you really have some issues with your credit score, there are very reputable companies that will work with you. I mean, you have to pay them, but they'll work with you to reach out to the credit bureaus and reach out to the companies and fix things on your credit report. So it's an important thing to do. So let's talk about the different types of lenders out there. So the one that you probably all know about are what we call retail lenders, and they're the ones who provide mortgages directly to consumers, you and I. And that would include things like banks, like Bank of America, TD Bank, all the banks out there. Credit unions, whether you're a member of a credit union or not, I mean, those are great ways to get a mortgage. And then there are mortgage banks. So those are three types of banks that fall under the retail lender. Now, those people have more stringent underwriting rules. They also do car loans and they do student loans. They do lots of other things. Direct lenders, on the other hand, they specialize in mortgages only. So these people are very focused on the real estate market. And they tend to be a little more flexible with their qualifying guidelines. So just know what type of lender you're working with so you know whether they're going to be a little more stringent or they're going to be a little more flexible. And then finally, portfolio lenders are people who lend primarily their own money, which means that they have the most flexibility. So if you're looking for a jumbo loan, investment property, portfolio lenders are probably the best way to go. There's also other types of lenders, like wholesale lenders, correspondent lenders, warehouse lenders, but they're probably beyond the scope of this course, and they're probably not as relevant to you. So what is a mortgage broker? So mortgage broker is an intermediary between you and your lender. You just have to know that mortgage broker, really, they don't control the borrowing guidelines. They don't control the timeline for when you can get approval, and they're not involved in approving your loan. So they really don't have a lot of power, but they are licensed professionals and they are licensed to collect mortgage applications from the general public. And they also assemble the qualifying documentation, things like your credit report, things like your job, any other things that they have to put together as part of your mortgage application. They have a lot of experience working with consumers, so they can really help you address things that are in your credit report. They can give you really good counseling. What can you do in your finances to strengthen your approval chances? So they're probably a very good resource for you to help you understand how to put your best foot forward. The other thing that these brokers can do is that they can shop your application to multiple lenders. So in that sense, they might be able to get you a lower interest rate or you'll find the best deal out there for you, because they can go to 4, 5, 6 different lenders and present your application, and thereby helping you get the best rate possible. And generally, mortgage brokers are paid by the lender after the loan closes, so it's generally not a fee that you have to pay. It may be in the form of points, but it won't be as visible. So the last thing I want to talk about here is a notion called a conforming loan. So to conform, a loan must be less than or equal to the FHFA amount, and in 2021, that amount is $548,250, and it goes up a little bit every year. So that's an important number, because in order to be conforming, you have to stay at that number or below. So if you need more than that, then you're looking at a jumbo loan, and then that makes it a little bit more stringent. To be conforming, you also have to meet the funding criteria for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are a couple of government agencies, and what they do is they create liquidity in the secondary mortgage market. So when your lender gives you money, they then try to take your loan and sell it to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Thereby, they get the money back that they can then go lend to another consumer. So to be a conforming loan gives you a lot better chance of getting a mortgage than if you were non-conforming. Again, if you have excellent credit, conforming loans generally give you a better interest rate. And then the last bullet is that if your loan's conforming, they can turn around and sell it to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and that's an important part of the bank's business. So let's talk a little bit about this debt to income ratio. So this is one of the things that the lenders use to determine whether you're eligible for a particular loan or not. So debt to income ratio. So they're looking at total debt payments divided by gross monthly income. So the example here is, you have an auto loan at $200 a month. You have other debts, maybe credit cards, maybe student loans, and that's $500 a month. And then you have a monthly mortgage of $2,000 per month. So together, that would be $2,700. And if your monthly gross income is $7,000, then your DTI in this example is 38.57. That's your debt to income ratio. Now, it's a little more complicated than that because you have a thing called a front-end DTI and a back-end DTI. The 38.57 is really a back-end DTI, and the front end is actually just your housing costs divided by your gross income. So this is a little bit smaller number here than all your recurring debts. So your recurring debts would include things like your housing expense, credit cards, student loans, personal loans. So here are the ratios that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they use these ratios to determine whether you qualify for a loan or not. So the lower your DTI, the more likely you'll make your monthly payments on time. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac set this is funny, it's kind of like double speak, but they set their maximum DTI to 36 and 43%. So for Fannie Mae, it's 36, for Freddie Mac, it's 43%. But then they say there are exceptions, so it's not really a maximum. So in general, you want your front end / back end to be 28/36 or lower. That means you want your front end to be 28%, you want your back end to be 36% or lower. And if you can fit that, you have a very good chance of getting your loan. Now, FHA, if you qualify for FHA loan, their DTI limits are 3143, so a little bit less stringent. Again, they say there are exceptions. So while they say those are limits, they also say there are exceptions. So I think to be the best candidate for a loan, you really should try to stay within the 28 to 36. But just know that there are exceptions, and that's why it's good to work with multiple lenders, because some lenders may know how to work around those limits better than others. So here's my final thoughts. So if your down payment is less than 20%, then you may have to pay for private mortgage insurance, which you really should try to avoid, because that's just more money you have to spend that I don't think is beneficial to you. The lender may also charge you a monthly escrow fee. So if you have real estate tax or insurance, they may charge you monthly for it, collect it from you monthly, and then pay the bill themselves. And you should try to look for special mortgage programs for first-time home buyers. They are out there. They're usually state-run programs, so you have to look in your particular state. And then finally, it's always good to seek pre-approval for a mortgage at a certain amount before going to buy a home. Then you won't be surprised when you find a home you like and then find out that somehow you can't get a mortgage for it. So to the extent you're able to get pre-approval, I think that's really desirable. So let's talk about our BAM account, which, as you know, we made our investments back in February. So February 2nd is when I started investing in this account. And you can see I've sorted this by percentage return. So XSD I bought, and I've got about a 14% return on this amount. SOX, I'm up 12%. PSI, I'm up 7%. IHI, I'm up 7%. IGV is up 7%. XBI, that's one that's actually done very badly. But remember, I didn't buy it on February 2nd. I was buying as it was going down. So, in spite of the fact that it's gone down, I'm actually doing okay with XBI. I'm still up 6%. BGT is 6%. PSI is 5%, and the QQQ is 5%. So, there's a psychology to buying ETFs or buying stocks. And at least for me, I like it when they're all in the green. If there's some losing money, it just doesn't make me feel good. So one good thing about this ETF strategy, if you do it properly, within a few months, 3, 6, 9 months, you should be all in the green, meaning that, there's no investment that's losing money. So there we are. So 7.9% is the return since I bought it. So then I show you this chart, which shows you what my return is, at different points. So on February 2nd, when I started the account, I was down 3% in March 2nd. I was up 11% on April 2nd. I was up 17% on April 23rd. That fell to 9% on May 28th. And as of June 28th, about a week ago, I'm at 20%. So I'm very happy. That's the annualized number, actually. So 8% is actually the actual return. And if you annualize it, it's 20%. So the other thing to notice is that I compare myself to the S&P compared to the NASDAQ. So compared to the S&P, I was 18, 19, 24, 22, and I'm only 10% behind the S&P. In terms of the NASDAQ, I was 20% above the NASDAQ, 17,443. So I'm above the NASDAQ by 3% and below the S&P by 10%, which I'm actually quite pleased with. With a 20% return. Remember, I had only this strategy I'm using is a 10% strategy. And so if I'm seeing 20% on a 10% strategy, I know I've got a little cushion there. So we do know it fluctuates from day to day, week to week, month to month. So it may fall back to 15 or 10% next week. So this is just the way the stock market works. It just fluctuates all the time. But you can see the trend is positive. So that completes the content for this month. So for your homework, I want you to go look at session 2 and session 3 on YouTube, because I think that as we get to the second half of the year, it's always good to go back and review some of those basic things, because I think they'll make a lot more sense to you now. So we did the Expand Wealth 5% baby steps in session 2, and we did session 1 of See Your Job in session 3. So I want you to go review those. It takes a couple of hours, and I think you'll like that. I want you to do CDC and API for Be Excellent on your job for the next month. See how that goes. And then finally, spend an hour with your band buddy and take 30 minutes each to present your Be Excellent CDC document. So finally, what did we learn today? So we learned about asset allocation and how I'm very partial to equities. And then we looked at the top 88 ETFs, how it's changed, but yet they all still do relatively well. Then we learned about CEO of Job, which is Be Excellent and Be a Leader. So do Be Excellent first. That'll probably get you to 7-8%. And then we do Be a Leader, that'll get you to 10%. And then we talked about buying a home and getting a mortgage, what credit scores are like, what mortgage brokers are, who the retail lenders are, and what the DTI ratios are. So that completes session 7. So as you can see, we're moving right along. There's only 5 more sessions to finish the year. And here we go. Thank you so much. Look forward to finishing this year and getting you all going on becoming a millionaire. So with that, I'm going to open it up to comments and questions. Hey, Peter.
Hey, very good job, Phil.
Thank you.
It's very good practical information that I think all of us could use and sharpen up our skills, mortgages, because I think as you broke down the different kind of financial institutions, the jumbo mortgage. So a job well done, Phil.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hey, Victor.
You know what? It's a review for me because I did buy a house before. I sold it and make some money. And now I'm actually considering buying again. So it's a good review for me.
Thank you. Thank you. No,
If you can buy mine.
I can't afford that mansion.
Oh, getting it ready for sale is tough.
good for you, Emin. No, that's good. This is a payoff. You know why I didn't talk about Emin, but you should know about this. I assume you're making some money. So will you have some capital gains on the home? There's a $500,000.
Yeah, you don't want to know. You don't know. I got a meeting with my accountant to see how I can lessen that. If there's any way.
You should absolutely lessen it. I mean, yeah, no, that's key. That's key. I mean, you don't want to give 20% or 25% of your the money that you earn to the government. I mean, they take enough of your money from your paycheck. There's no need to give them more. So you should absolutely do that. So
Phil's right. With real estate or buying a home, it's a good investment.
I don't think I've ever paid capital gains tax on my homes. I always am under the exclusion. I guess I don't make enough money. They always have a certain amount that they exclude. So if you stay under that, you don't actually pay taxes. So, I mean, if you keep a home for a long time, you don't have that.
Yeah, there's a 500,000 exclusion.
Yep. Is it per person? So do you get 500? Your wife gets 500?
No, 250 each.
Oh, you get 250 each. But still, that's good. 500 is 500.
Yeah.
But that's the downside of.
It's still gonna be like a big check you have to write Uncle Sam.
It's really painful to write a check. There's few things more painful than that.
One of the things I wanted to comment on is as a homeowner, a previous homeowner that sold, you can tell the difference between when you had a home and you had all these write-offs versus not having a home.
Not having write-offs.
And now you have to pay a lot of taxes. I've been paying taxes up the wazoo lately.
It's true. It's true. Having write-offs is really a blessing. So
don't buy a vacation home though. I took a bath on that one.
No, don't buy. Vacation homes don't work like your primary home. They don't. So you're right. Hey, Lynn.
Hi.
How'd you like it?
Oh, it was great. No, it's really, it's wonderful information. And yeah, it was good how you broke down the different mortgage lenders. Mm-hmm. I've been working on my credit score, so I improved it quite a bit, but now I'm trying to demystify a lot of the other information. So you make it approachable and digestible. So yeah, it's really informative.
It does seem like a black box when you're doing it, especially like those credit companies. I mean, those credit bureaus, they're a pain, but it's important.
Yeah, no, it's great. It was really useful information. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mary, Lisa Ann, Sherilyn, Judas?
Hello, Lisa Ann. So I am happy to report that my credit score is a 781.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have a home, so I know everything that you're talking about. There are a lot of a lot of pitfalls. Unfortunately, and this is the reality of today, the mortgage company that I used became a victim of ransomware.
Oh, no.
And he did pay the ransom. However, he said there's no guarantee that they still won't flood it on the black web, dark web. So I am.
So you're saying your information is now with the ransomware company?
Well, yes. Well, he
That's not
paid the
good.
ransom and they said that they would not release the
Right.
information to the dark web. But then again,
There's no guarantee.
so, have to put freezing my, my credit reports, and they're paying for 2 years of monitoring.
I see.
I mean, I already have monitoring on some of my credit cards that do it for free. Capital One is really good about that.
Mhm.
But something to be careful of. I mean, this was a really good company that I went with, so it can happen to anybody.
So Lisa, I've never done the monitoring before. So basically what, you give them money every month and they monitor your
Well,
pay?
Capital One monitors it. It's part of having a Capital One card.
I see.
But if you do, I haven't done LifeLock. I mean, I have Norton, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do LifeLock. I kind of have mixed feelings about that because I've heard different things where it actually opens you up to, more scrutiny for people wanting to get your information. So, but I've kind of streamlined what I do and how I'm using more cash because my debit card did get compromised as well. And I'm only using 2 of my Capital One cards for doing any online purchases. So it's, just being more savvy, protecting yourself. My daughter's got compromised when she moved to Oregon by using her credit card at a gas station.
Wow.
So, you never know where it's going to come from, but my bank, she said, just be careful of skimmers, that sort of thing. If you're using your card, I never use my credit card at a gas station anyways. I just don't.
Really? I always use my credit card at gas station.
You have to be careful. In Massachusetts, it's pretty, but I mean, my sister went away, and in New Jersey, she used her card in a gas station, and it was immediately compromised by a skimmer. So you have to be careful. I always use cash, or if you're going to the gas station, go inside and have them run it at the cash, at the machine.
No, I don't know anything about that. I probably am very
Skimmers are
vulnerable.
added to where you actually put the card in. So if you can actually move that thing, they can add a skimmer to it. They can even add it to your.
Oh, a skimmer. Oh,
Yeah.
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 That
I've
you
heard
use in
about
your
that.
bank.
You
They
can
add-
detect them.
Yeah.
How do you
There's
detect?
been a lot of problems with that with ATMs in New York. And I saw a video that they actually look a little different. If you look it up, it looks like kind of a plastic. It looks a little bit bigger, and it's put over the ATM.
Right.
And if something feels loose, if
Right.
you were to shake it or something, then you wouldn't want to use that. But they do it at cash machines here.
Yeah. If you have one where it's a clean thing where you just slide your card in, they can't attach it. But if you can actually move the piece, like she said, it shouldn't do that.
Right.
But yeah, so just protect your credit. Always pull at least a credit report once a year, and check to make sure that everything is in line. And it's a little scary out there, but if you're smart about it, you can protect yourself.
Interesting.
The one thing that I did want to do was not have my escrows, which my mortgage company denied me.
Really?
To take it off, which I wasn't happy about, but whatever. just for future reference, I don't like anyone making money off my money. You know,
Do they make money escrow? I thought they just pay the bills for you, don't they?
well, from what someone told me is because they have your money in there.
Well, they
So
do. They're holding it for like
Yeah.
through 2-3 months, but I
Yeah.
understand.
Yes, so that's the kind of thing.
Yep.
So, but this
Yep.
was very informative. Otherwise, I mean, I could just listen to you talk all night. So
Thank you, Lisa
you're
Ann.
a good teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Judas, Sherilyn, how you guys doing? Still with me? Judas? Sherilyn?
Yes, I'm still here.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I see you too.
Yes, no, that's pretty good. Even though I had a home already, but what you said here, it's really very helpful. So my quick question, can I do my debt by ratio by myself to see where I stand?
Yeah. I mean, you can make a mistake, right? But yeah, of course, it's just what I wrote in the formula. You figure all your monthly payments, right? And you figure your gross income. That's your debt to income ratio.
Okay.
Just a number, right? So all your debt, your mortgage, your credit cards, your student loan, whatever it is, whatever your monthly payments are, it adds up to 2,700, and you have 7,000, then you do the ratio. But that's your, I think that's your back end DTI. Then they worry about your front end, which is a small number. It's only your mortgage, so you have to comply with both ratios. The back end is probably the more prevalent one. But sometimes you can pass the back end and then you fail the front end. So you should calculate both of them just to see where you are.
Yes.
And make sure they don't make mistakes, because they can make mistakes calculating it. So if they say that they turn your loan down or whatever, I mean, you should find out what they think your DTI is. And what was funny was when I was doing the research, I mean, Fannie Mae says, their limit is, 36%. And they say, but then there are plenty of exceptions. So why is that the limit? So anyways, it's very confusing, very confusing. So
Right.
they make it very hard to figure out, actually. It's very non-transparent is probably the word. They're not transparent. They're like a black box. And then all of a sudden you got approved, or all of a sudden you didn't get approved, and they don't give you a lot of information. But actually, your mortgage broker, if you use a mortgage broker, they generally have a lot of experience doing this with many companies, so they can kind of help you. They can calculate DTI too. They can tell you, you don't qualify because your DTI is too high. So you want that as low as possible. So.
Thank you. That's a good thing to know.
Yep. Sherilyn, how you doing?
I'm great. What about you?
Hey, are you? How was the session?
The session was great. Thank you as always.
Thank you.
I own my own home, so again,
good.
this was a bit of a recap. But I always appreciate the content and just the level of effort and detail provided as always. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad so many people own a home already, which is good. But I've purchased like 4 or 5 homes, so even if you own a home, this may help in the next time you do it too. So, hey Mary, how you doing? Mary's muted. Hey, Mary.
Yes.
Is it,
Once again, you gave us a lot of good information, and I could see that you did a lot of research to get all the answers.
Are you not kidding? I don't know the stuff that well, so I have to go do some homework. So, anyways.
But it came through.
Good. Thank you very
very
much.
informative. And like you said, I'm glad a lot of people already own their home, but it's a good review. It's a good review in that now you can compare, did I do this? Did I do it right? Hindsight is always most interesting.
I talk about becoming a millionaire. You really have to do this 3, 4, 5 times home, 3, 4, 5 times in order to build up the value. So it's not just about buying one home. So even you have a home, you should be thinking about the next bigger home that you can catapult yourself into. So Yeah, so it's good that people have a home, but sometimes you just start a home, then your first home, then your second home. I think I've done 4 or 5, so and every time you learn a little more. So, well, thank you everybody. It was fun doing it. It's only 8:08, so we will see you next month. What?
I wanted to say Edmund is correct. Never buy a timeshare. Never buy a timeshare.
No, Mary, I told you not to buy, and you bought it anyway. I'm not talking about vacation home. That's even worse than timeshare. You own in New Hampshire.
But it's beautiful. It was like 4 acres on a lake.
I'm sure it's beautiful. Just financially, it's not the best deal. But timeshare is one of the worst. I mean, I did timeshare and I gave it up. Victor, you got a timeshare?
My timeshare is at the Cape Cod, and I've been giving it away. I've been spending it it's been over 20 years I had this timeshare. Every year it costs more and more and more, and I don't have a lot of time to go.
Yeah.
So I give it away and I use it as gifts and I do go once in a while.
What a great way to lose money. So Victor, we're in the Cape business. Maybe we can go.
It's a really nice. I mentioned it before. It's right on the Cape. It's right on a beach on Dennisport. It's called Edgewater Beach Resort.
Okay, I know Dennisport. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Edgewater. It's right on what they call Chase Avenue, which is they call it. Okay, they used to call it. What did they call it? They had a really derogatory name to it. It was really like a Hooker Lane or something.
How much information, Victor? We don't need to know.
But it was a lot of partying going on there. It was a lot of fun. It was right on the beach.
Was a singles timeshare?
No, it wasn't a single timeshare. I bought it with the old wife and the girl. I actually started with the girlfriend, then with the wife, and I still have it to this day. I want to get rid of it. I want to try to get rid of it. Did you ever get rid of yours?
I got rid of mine. Yeah, I just at one point I just stopped paying. And then they wrote me a notice saying that we're going to foreclose. I had to take it. So I had one in St. Martin. I had one of the first ones in St. Martin. I think of all my friends, I think I got sucked in. Those guys are very good at selling. They do what they call the encyclopedia close. They ask you, don't you have fun in your vacations, and don't you care about your family? And you keep saying yes. And the last question is, okay, sign here. So they sucked me in. But I didn't spend that much money. I bought it, I think it was like in the early 80s. I mean, got sucked in.
Mm-hmm.
But, I gave it up. And so I think that companies are specialists in getting you out of timeshare. I've heard radio ads of those people.
And they cost
give one of those people a call.
Yeah,
of course it costs money. Of course it costs money, but at least you get out of it.
They make you pay. You have to pay.
Yes.
To get rid of it.
To get rid of it, yes.
No, I understand. Of course you have to pay, because
in the long
keep
run,
it too.
you're better off.
In the long run, you're better off. I don't know how much they charge. How much do they charge? Wow.
I think I mentioned the one company was like $5,000 to get rid of it. Yeah.
That's
painful. Yeah, but what do you pay a month? I mean, what do you pay the maintenance?
1 year is like $900. Not a lot of money, but for 1 week. For 1 week.
900.
So when I was doing it, I think I was paying about $1,000 a year to keep it. But then I had to buy this membership to Resorts International. And if you switch it, that's another fee for that. By the time I got done with all that, it was like, oh my God, it's like $3,000, a year just to do this. But when you buy it, you don't know. You're young and you're naive, and they're very good at selling. And anyways, I think we've all been sucked in before, so it's okay. You should find a way to get out if you can. But you're right, 900 is not that much. Coughing up $5,000 to get rid of 900.
No, even 5,000, I think, still worth it, because you're talking about 900. That's close to 1,000. 5 years, less than 5 years, you don't need to pay any more 900, and then 900 goes up.
Yeah.
And don't you have to pay real estate tax? There's taxes on top of the maintenance.
So it started a long time ago by paying like maybe $300 to $400 a year.
In the beginning, yes.
And then it went, and then they got rid of got rid of everything. It had every house every little apartment had a hot tub, and now they don't have hot tubs.
Interesting.
Well, think about it.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Well,
Good job.
later.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Good.